But the problem is that how they're understanding the issue, that process is broken. Like if I'm troubleshooting a complex IT problem, I'm not making any assumptions, right? I confirm things to be true. And so whenever I see them making the judgment of something being racist or white supremacy being the controlling factor of disparity, it's all based on assumptions, and that's where I start making drawing a lot of parallels with religion, because the basis of everything is all assumptions, and they're having this very strong faith towards it, no matter what reality actually proves. Because the things that we can confirm in reality is that people of all races exist at all levels of society, from poverty to judges, lawyers, police officers, president of the United States. So just for that fact alone, you can't. It's impossible to say that white supremacy is the guiding factor, but behind how disparity comes to be. And so
Okay, well,
whenever I see
let me
them
address
making
that point.
assumptions that they
Yeah,
yeah.
let me address that point that you just made there. Okay, so
Okay.
what you're describing there is cognitive dissonance, right? You don't understand how that could be. Okay, however, that doesn't mean there isn't an explanation that makes sense, and there is, in fact. So let me try to explain how you can come to that understanding. All right, which is
But
all of those people you listed from the bottom to the top, president, all of those people, black people, have stated that they experience racism that heavily impacted their lives. Every single thing that you just listed. So you would have to say that all of those people collectively are just somehow delusional about their own lives in order to decide that we're totally off base. I'm just saying as a starting point, right? You have to acknowledge that all of those lawyers, police officers, president, etc., all of those black people who've been in those positions have publicly stated that they have experienced some significant racism that impacted their lives. So that's all I have to say about that. Like, I mean, like, you have to at least take both of those things into account, okay? The fact that they got there and the fact that they're saying that they experienced racism that has an impact. Both.
I think there's two different things here, because experiencing a racism that has an impact on your life, right, is that's different than saying white supremacy held me back, it kept me from succeeding.
What's
And
the
I don't
difference?
I
What's
don't
the
buy the
difference?
argument. I
What's the
don't buy the
difference, sir?
argument that unilaterally, um, you know, uh, all those people who are not white all share the same perspective and will confirm the same thing, right? And so I'm all about confirming or refuting us, confirming or denying assumptions. Like you can't just let an assumption go unconfirmed and then continue with the theory being based in fact.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That
I agree
Yeah,
with you,
yeah,
but what are we assuming here? I'm just telling you what these people have said
yeah,
out of their own mouths, okay? Like,
yeah.
they're saying it, they are saying it like that is the fact, is that they said it. So, like, the question is, like, after you have those facts, that everyone at those levels have stated that about their own lives, how do you deal with that? How does that fit into your understanding of racism and how it operates?
I think with that claim, it requires a more higher resolution, observation, because the claim that white supremacy is the guiding factor behind disparity. You would have to find something systemic that leads to that result,
Okay. And you
right?
don't think
So,
that that is occurred?
well, no, because you don't have the only thing, the only flavor of systemic racism that I see existing are DI policies that expressly say, "Oh, we have too many white people on board." So now we have to deny white people opportunity to give space for these other people. Which erodes the whole concept of meritocracy. Then nobody's being fairly judged based on their demonstrated abilities and character alone. So that's
Okay,
really the
good.
only form.
So let's take that thread, okay? Because this
Yeah,
goes back to, again, the first thing that I said. So eventually we're going to have to deal with that thing, which is
yeah.
there is the reason why you're thinking like that, right? That a meritocracy is being upset is because you're assuming you are actually making an assumption by saying that, which I don't think that you've realized. Your assumption there is that we're in a meritocracy and that this country has been a meritocracy. Neither one of those things are true. So You're kind of working in a hypothetical space, and that's why when people are talking about the reality of our space, which is not a meritocracy, it never has been, it's you're having cognitive dissonance. I mean,
Well, I'm
do you believe that
I,
we exist in a meritocracy?
no, I absolutely do because for the most part, yeah, because I look at how incentives are aligned in our economy, and I look at my own experience, and so like in the way I see the incentives aligned, let me address that part. The way business has to function is that business has to be efficient, and they have to hire like competent people, and not just competent people, but they have to do that competitively. So like if I have a business, I better do a good job of formulating my team better than my competition, will. So I have to hire the most skilled people that I can possibly get, right? So racism is not profitable in the business world. You have to hire the most competent person, despite their skin color. And
So
I've
hang
never
on, hang on.
had.
Let's deal with your statement that racism isn't profitable in the business world. Do you have some kind of a justification for that other than you're thinking about how businesses should work? Like, is there some kind of data or investigation that you could rely on to show that people that racism is not profitable for businesses?
This is the only way I could ever see like racial discrimination, if you want to call it being profitable, is for like an maybe like insurance, people doing insurance policies, because they like to pull all type of statistics on people, and they might use that in the background. I'm not sure, but as far as putting together a team to run an efficient business, right, you have to hire a team that's going to be functionally better than your competitor's team, and you can't
I
possibly
mean,
do that based off.
is that a necessity, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying,
All right, what
like,
was I saying before?
I think you were saying that like you're talking about the optimal business and how it should operate in a hypothetical world. But you have to understand, in reality, brother, a lot of businesses are not operating optimally. Yeah, they're not the most efficient businesses, but they're still competing, they're still making money, and they're still operating. They don't just shut down because they're operating poorly. That's not how our reality works. Again, yes, in a hypothetical world where all businesses were doing the right things, you would be right. That's not the world we live in. And so, like, you're constantly putting yourself in a different reality, all right? You got to stick to the reality as it exists, how businesses actually are, how they actually function. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of businesses operate poorly and are still profitable. It is true. So, like, unless we can agree on that, like, we're talking about two different worlds. Okay, we're not even talking about the same universe. All right. So we got to get on the same page in terms of what is the reality of the situation. I agree with what you said about efficient businesses. You would be right in like an ideal world. It's just simply not the world that we live in. And I don't think that you would believe that either. I mean, you've got to know that is not the world that we live in. You must know. So,
Well, no, I disagree, because I've literally been in the corporate world. Like I'm retired from that now, but I've been working in corporate for like 20 years already. I've worked for probably a dozen or so companies. I've only seen companies work that way ever. So the idea that we're not, that we don't live in that reality, I just don't buy that. Because that's the
I
only
mean,
way
I
I've
don't
ever
buy that
seen
you've never
businesses
seen it
function.
after 20 years in corporate, brother. Like, it's not what I'm saying is not that outlandish.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I mean, I've talked to
the idea.
people across every single industry, including yours of IT, and I mean, that is not what I hear, across the nation. So like, it's kind of, I don't know what you saw or what you perceived, but like, I don't know that you were perceiving things accurately, brother. That's the only thing that I could conclude.
We're going to disagree on that one, because like I said, I worked in many different industries, by the way, because I'm in IT, but the businesses that I worked for were in various industries. One was medical billing, diabetic supplies. The last one was translations, and and I've only seen these businesses operate that way. They don't care what's your ethnic background. They just want to hire the most competent person and get the most bang for their buck.